problem of homelessness is as ancient as the world. Having a roof over one's head is part of human dignity. Unfortunately, reality shows that even in countries with strong economic growth, like Ireland, governments struggle in coping with substantial numbers of homeless people. Hence, the existence of charitable organizations like the Simon Community that carry out Trojan work trying to alleviate this problem. We visited the Simon Community Office in Temple Bar, which is one of the 12 community locations in Dublin. In this office alone work 15 volunteers. We were received by Catherine Ayres, a fundraising officer.
Catherine, can you tell us something about the origin of the Simon Community? Where and when was it born?
Simon was started in the UK by Anton Wallis-Clifford in the early 60s. From there, a group of Trinity students heard about this work and they were alarmed by the numbers of people that they saw sleeping rough on the streets in Dublin and were inspired by the work being done. And so they begged and they borrowed and they stole and they managed to get a soup run together for people sleeping on the streets. And that soup run continues to this day, 36 years later. Volunteers venture out onto the streets every night of the year, bringing food, but more importantly friendship to people who are out sleeping rough.
Which are the main functions of this community? 12
projects across the city, and they range from the emergency services, so providing shelters, and outreach teams to go out and actively find people who are homeless. Our soup run is part of this emergency response. Our housing services provide somewhere safe and comfortable for people to spend the night or to move in temporarily while they find full-time accommodation. We have supported housing services that are there for people who need a bit of a helping hand just to make sure that they maintain independence and a home. We also have a transitional housing service that is like a stepping stone from supported living out into independence. Our training and employment project in Chapel Lizard is also very important because down there it gives people the skills and the confidence not only to maintain a home of their own but to get out there and get back into the workforce.
How do you select your people? What criteria do you follow for the selection of the most needy?
Probably two main ways. We actively go out and seek people and find people, and that's our outreach team and soup runners that are on the streets. But also we receive referrals. Across Dublin we're known as providing an expert service and a quality service, and that's especially the case with our alcohol services teams. And so they'll take referrals from homeless agencies across the city because we're recognised as providing a very high quality service and really getting to the root causes of someone's homelessness.
In actual fact, the Simon Community redeems people from poverty and gives them also a chance to rebuild their life.
Absolutely. It's about rebuilding people. And it's about really understanding what's made that person homeless. Falling into homelessness is like a process. It's like putting on weight. You don't wake up one morning 10 pounds overweight. You gradually get there. And it's the same with homelessness. And the work that we do is about really understanding how someone got there in the first place and building them back up again. And it's the confidence and the skills to keep a home of their own. Housing is vitally important, but the support is doubly important because it's about making sure that that person can reintegrate into the community and move on.
Catherine, can you quantify the achievements of the Simon community in Ireland?
We've been incredibly successful in the last few years in moving people off the streets. Probably during the mid to late 90s, there was a very visible problem in terms of people sleeping rough on the streets. And we've worked incredibly hard, like all homeless agencies across the city, worked very hard with government and local community to move people off the streets. And we've seen the success of these programs quite recently. And now the challenge for us is that we've moved people from the streets, we're working with them now, and now we need to help them make the next step and move them onto a permanent home of their own.
There's still a lot of work to do, I'm sure. Have you any figures about the number of people actually who are still waiting to be fixed up by you?
There's about 6,000 people in Ireland who are currently homeless. About 75% of those are in Ireland. And unfortunately, the people that we tend to work with are usually men, they're usually over 35 or 40, and they usually have no dependent kids as such. And unfortunately they tend to always be at the bottom of the housing list because preference is given to, and quite rightly so, families or women with kids. And so for the people that we largely deal with, they're always going to be at the bottom of the list.
Catherine, there are other charity organisations here in Ireland. What's your relationship with this organisation?
I guess we're all in this together, and we're all there to see a day where there's people who, there's no homelessness. But why we work together and how we work together is we recognise that Simon does some things better than others and other people do things better than we do. We have a wonderful alcohol service team that's really the preeminent service of its kind in the country. However, we don't work with families and we don't work with kids directly. That tends to be focus that do that work. So by working together we can make sure that each organisation has an expertise and works very closely to make sure that we're providing the best service for people who are homeless.
The Simon community is funded by who?
We receive half our funding from government, but most importantly, half of it comes from donations. And a lot of our projects, such as the Soup Run and our social club, they rely totally on donations for that work to continue. Projects that we've just had completed is the renovation of our transitional housing units on Dorset Street. It's a fantastic story because it's about how, by working together with the community, we can really do really positive things for homelessness in Dublin. I received a phone call from Club di Dublino probably this time last year, and they invited me to present to them a proposal for support, and I'm delighted to say that they were quite excited about the project and it captured their imagination, and with their support we were able to put in new carpets, paint the rooms, new cookers, new hobs, and really make these 16 apartments not just where somebody lives but their home.
Has the Club di Dublino, representing the Italian community in Ireland, been the only one body to generously contribute to your funds?
We have an enormous number of very generous people out there from all walks of life, but in terms of a group of people who come together bound by their homeland, this is the first, yes.
Well, that's a great credit to the Italians, I'm sure, and there will be room for other ethnic minorities, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much.